This month's Iran Case File report examines the following three areas: domestic, Arab, and international affairs. Each area is subdivided into files reflecting key developments that have taken place over the month. The domestic affairs area is divided into the following files: ideological, political, military security, and economic. The Arab affairs area is divided into the following files: Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. And finally, international affairs area is divided into the following files: US-Iran relations and British-Iran relations. The following will summarize the key points and conclusions from each area and file. 1. Domestic affairs. Iran's project to Islamize the humanities and university curricula faces a real crisis. This project suffers from generational disagreements on the ideology of the state and its interpretation. This crisis is perpetuated by the widening generation gap, with the ruling elite wanting to enforce its revolutionary ideology, whereas others don't. And this makes it difficult for the ruling elite to crystallize its vision for Iran. Mehdi Karoubi's letter to Khamenei proves that he still believes in the Iranian regime despite his house arrest. He wants to reform the regime from within. Karoubi's criticism may not lead to a change in the regime's policies, but will increase internal discussion and discontent. The Avaz attack was a major security blow for Iran. It caused significant damage to the credibility of the Revolutionary Guards as it failed to prevent the attack. Avaz is a critical economic zone for Iran, and it supports it in all its key economic areas. Any attempt to stop the flow of resources from Avaz would be more harmful than US sanctions. Iran plans to invest in the port of Jask, in the Sea of Oman, and its exports to Iraq increased by approximately 30% during the first half of this year compared to the past. 2. Arab affairs. Iraq's political environment was marked by political fluidity and alliance-making. Rival Iraqi groups announced alliances to make the next Iraqi government. Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi's closest ally, the Reform and Construction Alliance, refused to name him for a second term as Prime Minister. Also, al-Abadi's rival, the Fatah and State of Law coalition, allied with his allies. The Kurds expressed resentment at a potential new government headed by al-Abadi, and Iran exerted pressure to ensure its interests are safeguarded. The Shiite clerics are deeply involved in finding a political solution in Iraq between the different rivals. The Idlib agreement will ensure demographic changes by displacement and by the redistribution of the population. Syria, Russia, and Iran have forced displacement by committing mass crimes, and no solution has been found because of Iran wanting to storm Idlib. Turkey and Russia agreed to a demilitarized zone in Idlib as Iran was excluded from the talks between them. However, there are doubts over the extent to which the Idlib agreement can be implemented, as Syria and Iran want to wipe out the opposition. In Yemen, Iran's influence is shrinking, and its support to its ally, the Houthis, is on the decline, as Iran has been pushed back by the Arab coalition and is facing internal economic crisis. Iran faces new challenges and feels pressured due to economic woes caused by the US sanctions, which has deteriorated its influence in Yemen. 3. International affairs. US-Iran relations gives the impression that the two sides are ready for dialogue, but the contention is what is the starting point. While the US wants to sign a new treaty to address Iran's regional role and its ballistic missile program, Iran wants dialogue to be part of the Joint Action Plan. and on the basis of the UN Security Council Resolution 2231. The US wants to coordinate with its allies to tighten sanctions on Iran and possibly confront its deployment in the region. In return, Iran is trying to keep the gains of its nuclear agreement and convince companies to continue with their investment and trade in Iran. Iran is trying to fill the economic gap by turning to China, Russia, Turkey, and some EU countries that have differences with the US. Iran is exploiting several political cards to exert pressure, particularly on the United Kingdom. For example, it has accused the kingdom of plotting and planning against Iran in Iraq, and demanded it continues to buy Iranian oil, as well as support its Arak reactor. Iran seeks to turn up the pressure on the United Kingdom to force its hand to reciprocate goodwill, as Iran faces isolation and difficulty as new US sanctions are fast approaching. An Iranian diplomat linked to an alleged bomb plot against an Iranian opposition rally in France has been extradited to Belgium from Germany, prosecutors told media on Tuesday. The Vienna-based Iranian, Asadollah Assadi, appeared before the Belgian judge in charge of the case on Wednesday. Staunchly denying French accusations, Tehran summoned Germany's ambassador to register its protest. The suspected plan to target a gathering of the National Council of Resistance of Iran in a Paris suburb came to light a few days after the June 30 event. He is among 6 people arrested for the planned terror act. The incident reaffirms the widely held belief that IRGC officials are appointed as Iran's diplomat, which abuse the diplomatic immunity and access to launch subversive activities against dissidents and critics. The US has already imposed sanctions against Iranian military, as well as its various intelligence arms.